Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wazalendo versus GRA match preview. With me, I have two amazing gentlemen. All of us are in cold places. One of us in Milimani, the two of us in the upper side of the hemisphere. Karibu sana, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Good.
I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are having a debutant in our Hockey KE podcast in Hasharan. Hasharan has never been in any of our podcasts. Karibu sana, my good friend. It's been long. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
Yeah, 7 good years.
Yeah.
As I said, I think even when I came to the UK, all the clubs I've played for so far, which I think are about 4 of them, always follow my previous clubs. So Wazalendo, I've always followed everything they've been doing for the last few years, and yeah, it's good to see them going for an international tournament.
Amazing. Kagochi, we were with you in the preview, in the review, match review.
Yeah.
Now we are doing a preview with you. You, of course, I know this is a tough one for you because you have to stay neutral.
Yeah.
Both teams are your favorite teams. How do
Yeah.
you view this going for Wazalendo and GRA tomorrow? Because currently, Tyrat and GRA are playing each other, and Tyrat just scored literally with their first attack, a very amazing counter attack, and they are 1-0 up against GRA.
Um, I think it's gonna be a great match because both teams have attacking flair. Both teams have an instinct way of they play. Okay. I know GRA. They are very good. They are very good passers of the ball. They really rely on long passes and a lot of aerial balls because they have very good flickers and guys who can play very hard passes. But above all, I think Wazalendo has just like normal what we say the Kenyan flair. You know, it's nobody can. It's very hard to try and analyze how Kenyans will play. But from my point of view, I think it's going to be a tough match. Despite whatever happened today,
Yeah.
tomorrow it's a very interesting match. Both teams have to win, you know. So especially for Zalendo have to come up. So I expect a very tactical match and also very cautious because now, depending on how the game ends today, tomorrow's game will be the key for the two other debutants. That's Wazalendo and GRA.
Yeah. I watched the Ghana police game. Is it Ghana Army? Was it Ghana Army versus? I'm confusing those. Let me get. Yeah, the Ghana police versus Eastern game. Uh, and before I ask Sharat for his comment, I was shocked actually that game was similar to the Wazalendo game. Ghana police very fast, very physical. They created a lot of chances and they made their chances pay and they were able to handle Eastern Company. Remember yesterday in our preview, we said that Eastern Company are the top team or the favorites to win this tournament.
Yeah.
Hashan, do you think that Wazalendo should have taken their chances and need to take their chances versus GRA, assuming that GRA lose this match because they are currently trailing?
That's a big point. One of the things you need to consider is the fact that, as I said, as I was explaining before, I think Kogochi has also explained, when you have a mixture of youngsters and the older generation of Wazalendo players. I remember when I played, some of the players who are playing for the Wazalendo team right now, they weren't there. And I still remember some faces who I used to train them as young kids. So that generational gap that's there between the young and the older players, it needs to kind of be gelled together. The older players need to kind of calm the younger players down. Based on the few highlights I've seen of the game, Wazalendo did create chances. The only reason they didn't take the chances is most likely because obviously you have younger players who it's their first time playing an international tournament. It's the first time being on the big stage. So they need to kind of calm down, relax a bit, kind of look at it in terms of, yes, We have an opportunity, but now we need to prove ourselves. Um, they played well. They have speed, which is to their advantage. But you need to have calmness and speed at the same time. The passing has to be fast, accurate, but you need control over the ball at the same time. They have
Mhm.
what it takes to beat the team. So far, I think the first quarter, I think the first half, GRA, the way they're playing, they're relying mostly on long balls, counter attacks, but they are vulnerable. So from the little I've seen, I think Wazalendo has the upper hand at the moment and has a very high chance of winning the game. It's just that the older players now need to encourage the younger players, be the guide, tell them what to do, how to do it, be the pivot, be the kind of, I would say, not really puppeteer, but almost like a puppeteer, kind of controlling the younger players, telling them where to play, how to play, and
Yeah.
they should be able to win that game easily.
Yeah, Kagochi, we know that Wazalendo is one of the teams that you can't rule them out, and you say
Yeah,
this in our match review.
yeah, yeah.
And we all know, and we mentioned this, that Wazalendo also have a habit of losing the first match and going on to win all the other matches. Do you think that we need to see a reaction from the team in tomorrow's match?
Basically, as I said in the morning, it's this is a tournament. This is not a league.
Mhm.
So you really have to um, regroup quickly. But one thing that is giving me a good vibe is that we have played GRA in Kenya before, so we know the players. Um, so the only thing to do is that, again, as I said today, who will be more calm, as Ashran has said, who will be more calculated. Remember today we talked about risk management. Who will manage the risk? Like now the turnovers were there were so many, and we are getting turnovers in the wrong parts of the pitch. So who will be more composed? Who will be more controlled? Both teams are counter-attacking teams. So again, in such a scenario, it means we are going to rely basically once or twice with our key players
Yeah.
in the final decision. But again, as I said today, I'm very sure Kimanzi and Wiki have been able to watch the game and realize, by the way, we had this game in our hands. We gave these guys too much respect. So I think that's another thing. We can't give these guys too much respect. Okay, so before the game, all of us have 0-0. So for me, I expect it to be a bit physical. GRA a bit physical, a bit strong boys, and they are also cautious about the counterattacks. They know Kenyans are speedy guys. Definitely they know Barry. Definitely they know some other Joba and the rest of the guys. But who knows about tomorrow is who is more calm and who plays the chess game better, as I said before. Because
Yeah.
remember, it's a game of 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Each quarter is unique, as you saw with the earlier games. Each quarter is very unique. Depends with the mentality. But
Mm.
of course, I'm vouching for this time for Azalendo. Hope,
Tough call, tough call. Of course,
yeah,
you have to support your home team.
yeah, I have to support my. I know my guys there also. They are like Moses. But hey, I'm a Kenyan, so definitely I wish Wazalendo to do much better. But let's see. Again, we really need to look also what GRA are doing differently, and how can we counter it. And again, this is what I said, Simon. We need tournament. We need to scout as the game goes by. We need to scout, and we need to readjust ourselves to the tactics. So I hope our guys are in the stadium watching the game as it goes by.
Yeah, currently the game is still 1-0. Atairat are leading the Ghanaians 1-0,
Mm,
GRA 1-0, and the game is in the second quarter.
yeah.
Ashran, you yesterday we had a chat, and you mentioned something about Wazalendo not having that exposure, uh, com- because compared to other teams they are playing against. Because the last time they played such an international event was back in 2007, and they actually did not participate in the tournament for one reason or the other. Also, remember that in Kenya, the league did not kickstart or kick off again after COVID. Should the team uh, be worried about that, or should they just head on and say this is a challenge that we can be able to accomplish? Because I mean, if you look at that performance against Zamalek, they created chances. The only thing is that they were not able to execute them.
That's true. The thing is, you can look at Wazalendo as a double-edged sword. On one hand, you can actually look at them and say, yes, there's that inexperience, which is not just about Wazalendo. It's any. I would actually put it down in terms of the whole African continent. Most of the club teams there don't get exposures as compared to European teams. It's a big issue. One of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of something like the FIH Pro League is because when you had, I think it was the
World
Hockey World League.
Series. Or
World
Yeah,
World
League,
Series.
yeah,
World
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 Series. Yeah.
Series,
Series.
yeah.
So all the international teams, even the African teams, got to play the matches. Now, even if they didn't get as much exposure as they're supposed to, it really helped the teams, the countries themselves. But then again, looking at it on the other side, Wazalendo has not played since 2007. That's a long time. Half of the players, as Kogochi was saying, half of the players are known by the GRA, and the other half are not known. You might have new players coming in; they are unknown. People don't know what they're capable of doing. It makes them unpredictable, and unpredictable means very dangerous. Um, Advantage of me having played with multiple teams is that every time I join a new club, the first season I played there, I become the most dangerous player because people don't know how I play. They don't know what I'm capable of. So the other teams, when you know someone, you know how to, as in, if you know a forward, you know how you're going to defend against that forward. If you know how the midfield plays, you know how you're going to defend against them. But if you have players who you've never played with before, it's unpredictable, and unpredictable is very dangerous. Wazalendo can use that to their advantage. So that would be my point on that.
Yeah, Moses, I believe you're also part of the 2007 team. What happened, first of all? I think we need to get a bit of history of about what happened. And of course, you tell us your point about um, how that the difference between these teams, because you know Ghana have the home advantage. They've also been able to play against some international teams, and some of their players play internationally compared to Wazalendo. Because if you look at the Wazalendo squad, other than Dunston Baraza or Barry as we know him, there is no other player we can say that has actually had an international or an overseas league kind of experience.
I think what had happened that time, it was the biggest elephant in our sport.
Mhm.
It's funding, and then as a club being before that, some of the reasons why they did not go was the issue with funding and also the timelines. But that one being said, I think right now kudos to Wazalendo, and I'm saying this with all pride that it's a self-sponsored club and they managed to go there. So first and foremost, we are represented. Um, I think the exposure. What does exposure do, Simon? Exposure gives you confidence. Exposure puts you in a place where you can make the same decision under pressure over and over and over again with various different opponents. So I think GRA have an edge because they have about 6 or 7 players in the national team. Their head coach, the head coach of Ghana national team, also is a GRA coach, and also so they have a bit experience. But again, for me, being a dark horse is always better, because they come. Two things can happen. They can come overconfident. These are small kids. Um, Again, you know what happens with hockey? 1 goal down, 2 goals down. Then before you wake up, I mean, you cannot recover. So for me, all I can say, shame. I mean, it's painful that we don't have a lot of tournaments, a lot of exposure. It affects us negatively because our players know each other in Kenya, but when they meet a different team playing a different system, um, maybe being very robust, very like you saw the Egyptians who
Mm,
can decide to defend and wait on you. So it really affects that. But I think also the advantage right now, the coaches, Wazalendo coaches are also quite advanced. I think they have gone through the education system. So I think they can repay whatever they don't have experience on the field in terms of knowledge impartation. And as I said before, if they really take time to scout other teams properly, I think they are smart. We are smart guys. They can come up
mm,
with different mechanism to play. But for me, Simon, the way I said it, and I will repeat it again. Kama tukuwa, if you're not trained certain aspects, we cannot do it now. We just have to stick to our game strategy and try to realign the errors that we did and correct, especially remember what we talked about turnovers and
mm,
about keeping the ball.
yeah,
If Wazalendo can be able to hold on to the ball, which means and they are denying the opponents the ball, and we are, as we said, we are gifted, Simon. We cannot. We are athletically gifted. That's something we cannot take for granted. I
true.
think that's something they can use in the bag. Just keep the ball, run these guys down, keep the ball, and just the individual flair sometimes will come in handy. So yeah, it's a chicken and egg situation. So we have to be
Yeah.
quite clever about how we handle that game.
Yeah, I agree with you, and especially one thing that I want to say is there is a danger of thinking that we are inexperienced. We haven't played internationally. This is my first time playing on a blue AstroTurf. This is my first time flying out to play. I'm sure the coaches might not uh, be able to see that in a player, but it's something that can run in the mind of a player. You know, it's now upon the players now to and we all know these players. These players are not ones to get discouraged easily, but it's upon them individually to have that psychological edge and say, yeah, we do understand that these
Mm,
guys have better facilities. They trained
mm,
better, probably trained better than us because they had better facilities where they are. They play in a better league, or they played in a league we didn't play. So you
mm,
don't let that get into your mind. You don't let that play into your mind. All you just say is you believe in your ability, you believe in your coach, you believe in what instructions you are being given by your coach, and execute them. Many a times, Kagochi and I are coaches and usually tell our players
yeah,
that, and this is something that I know most of us have had, trust the process.
yeah,
If the coach scouts and says this is what you need to do, do
yeah,
it. If it doesn't work, then you guys or the team can haggle together and say, hey,
yeah,
can we come up with something that's working? Because the danger
yeah.
is looking at, let's say you are scouting other teams and you start feeling down. You start getting discouraged.
It
Because
is
I mean,
anything.
Hashran, you've been there in Norwich now for some time, and you've said you've played for multiple clubs, and I'm sure when you went there, the level was completely different from the way you are used to Kenya. How are you able to mentally and psychologically deal with it?
So that was a challenge and a half. The first, I think, 2 3 months to make it even worse was I came in September, so I started my training in November, and the temperatures were dropping. So forget about everything else. As in, just acclimatization was just an issue. I couldn't run. My legs were frozen. My joints were just completely gone. Uh, as in, for someone who was able to run physically, I was fit. I was able to run, but when you come here and everything just changes, and then
Yeah.
obviously you have the astroturfs here are different. The style of play is different.
Hmm.
Um, and then each club has its own kind of philosophy in terms of how they play. They I agree in terms of England hockey want clubs to play in a certain way, especially the juniors, because if you're going to make the England team, you need to be kind of playing in a certain kind of system. But despite that, uh, I've had formations changing from a 3-4-3 to a 4-3-3 to a 4-1-2-1-2, I think. And so it just depends on what happens. I've had games like I think was it last weekend, we started off with a 4-4-2, just to come to realize, you know what, we don't need too many at the back.
Yeah.
Their attacking is not that good, so let's go a 3-4-3, and we won the game. I think was it 6-1. So as I said, it takes time to adjust. It takes time to do all that. But as Gogochi said, this is a tournament. You don't have time for that. It's kind of one day, next day. Is in a league you're going to play every weekend. You have that 1 week to adjust. With a tournament, you have literally hours to adjust to the next match. And in terms of how Wazalendo will actually be able to move forward, is they played the first game. All the kind of cobwebs, they've been cleared. All the kind of excitement for the young players that, oh yeah, we're playing internationally for the first time, all that should have cleared. All the excitement should have disappeared, and now it's just thinking about the next game. This were the mistakes. As you said, the coaches will come up with a plan. This is how the plan is going to be. If the plan works, fine, go with it. If it doesn't, this is where now the experienced players on the pitch, the captains, the vice captain, whoever's going to be playing at that moment, the senior players, kind of now adjust the team on the pitch according to how they're supposed to play. They might have made a plan that, you know what, this is how we're going to play, maybe counter. But then you realize the team that you're playing against is sitting back and they're waiting to counter themselves. You're not going to be both playing counter, sitting back, each one of you giving a what, 50 press.
They
So
leave the ball at the center,
yeah, there's a ball at the center and just kind
and
of
all
go
of them are
each foot.
defending.
So this is where, as I said, it's now
Mhm.
that's the advantage with Wazalendo. They have not only youngsters, but they also have the older generation of players. So you have experience who can actually help those youngsters and tell them, you know what, we've tried this way, but we found gaps here, and we're going to exploit them. So you start moving in that direction. So it's kind of there's the coaching point of view, which obviously this is the game plan, and then there's the in-game game plan, which
Yeah,
you need to adjust maybe here and there, and it's not something you can just go and say, you know what, we're going to do this and it's going to work, because the
yeah,
opposition can decide, oh, these guys are doing this, we are going to even change our game plan to kind of adjust to that.
yeah.
So it is a game of chess. You just need to know how to work your moves on that.
Mm-mm. Yeah, Kagochi, looking at both teams, we do know that both teams are structured. GRA are also somewhat of a counter-attacking team. And I watched that game against Zamalek, that is Wazalendo against Zamalek. And they also seem to employ counter-attacking. And Asharana said both teams can't counter-attack. How should Wazalendo approach this game? Because, as I said, assuming that this match ends, GRA loses 1-0, it's almost halftime. Both teams will have lost. Both teams need to get a point. How should Wazalendo manage this game?
Uh, Simple, Simon. I think when you're playing a counter-attacking team, basically for me the critical part is the midfielders, because they're the ones who are going to basically determine the pace they are going to play at. If they are going to keep the ball, like I always, one thing I've learned is that if you keep the ball, if you move the ball, what is happening? They keep on shifting, even if they're going to play zonal, or just like I said, Zamalek were playing zonal. So if you keep moving the ball, their structure will somehow get disadvantage. And now we have great players like Bender who are strong, who can play the long passes. We have people who can lift the aerial balls. I think this is where the game, people like Barry and Matthew can take advantage, because they are quite clinical in circle. The only problem I had before is the number, because actually, if you look statistically, Wazalendo actually overplayed Samalek
Yeah,
in terms of
yeah.
circle and penetration, short
Mm.
corners, the percentage of being in their quarter, in their half, which means there's something working for Wazalendo. The only thing is a killer instinct. So for me, I think midfield will play a very big role. There's something you mentioned about patience in defending. We should not give away short corners. Uh, GRA have very good drug flickers. So we should avoid that. And lastly, we should just play simple. I think that the problem I saw today, the guys want to do so many things in the 23. Just
Mm-hmm.
play simple. Just come on, short corner after short corner. You know, tuache manini mob sana. A lot of Domingi, because we lost so many chances because kupiga backhand and ikachapa forehand. So I think what's going to win the game is the simplicity of how we manage the game with simplicity, and then how we take advantage of our ability to counterattack with tempo. But again, game management will be, for me, will be the game changer.
Yeah. Asharan, you've played in tournaments like this before, and now you've played against technical players as well. Those are players that are drilled. They have
Yep.
instructions. You're playing against a team that has, as Kagochi said in our preview, on-field scouting.
Yeah.
How would Wazalendo handle such a team?
Uh, I think the best example I can give is when I was before I moved to Norwich, I was in Birmingham, and I was playing in the top tier league against University of Birmingham. Now the thing with university teams is there are two types of university teams. One who go out partying on the weekend, and those who are actually quite strict. Now University of Birmingham, they do produce quite a number of good players. Some of the women's international players, they've come from University of Birmingham. Now with a team like that, they have a system in place. They know what they want to do, and they do it at pace. What you want to do is you want to be able to play against their style of play. If they're playing fast, play slow. If they're playing slow, play fast. If they're trying to push it out to the wings, bring them to the center. If you do opposite of what the other team wants to do, half the time, especially if it's a well-drilled team and they have a kind of system in play, you break that system, they wouldn't know what to do. They will have to wait either for quarter time or half time for them to go out, get instructions, come back again. Wazalendo's best options at this moment. I've watched the first match, GRA, the way they're playing. One of the best thing I've actually liked is the fact that Wazalendo has pace. Teams that have pace, what they do is in the first 5 minutes, score 1 to 2 goals.
Yeah.
When you're 1 goal up or even 2 goals up, it gives you the advantage. You can defend well, you can be relaxed, you can stay calm, and the other team has to do things that they wouldn't normally do. Because if their structure doesn't work, then they'll actually lose it completely. Some players get frustrated. Kogoche was saying that GRA is an aggressive team. Play that to your advantage. Make the players angry. Get fouls, get short corners, get free hits outside the D. Put the pressure on them. Let them not be calm at all. And that's how you beat such teams. You end up frustrating the players.
Kagochi, how do you structure your team to play against a physical side? Because I mean, Wazalendo, if you look at some of the players they have, they are not quite as big as GRA players, and we all know on the pitch, when you're playing against a bigger player, a stronger player, they'll intimidate you. They will, and you all know mind games is part of the tactic. How should such a player or Wazalendo handle a physical side?
Simon, the only way physical players come into being is when you're close to them. So for me, and I think this has been my principle, that the ball is faster and the ball doesn't get tired. So we need to move the ball. So that's what I was talking about. If our passing and off the ball play is excellent, and I think we have an advantage. Physicality doesn't bring anything, because where are we going to meet if the ball is the one which is moving? But again, now if we make a mistake of carrying the ball so much and trying to getting into dribbles in the wrong places. That's what happens. So I think this is the time now we need to play quick passes, passes on the sticks, accurate passes, and I mentioned it again. Then if you're able to do that, we'll be able to cut off the physical aspect. But if we just try to show that we can dribble, boss, mtatoka na ma-injuries hapo. Those guys wanajua kusugua.
But at the same time, we know Wazalendo have skillful players. I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at the likes of Matthew, Barry as well, and GRA do struggle against skillful players. If GRA find dribblers, they do struggle against dribblers.
yeah.
Now we've asked so much about how Wazalendo should approach the game. How should GRA approach the game? Because also Wazalendo is not a team that you can assume it's weak enough to beat easily.
GRA all they have to do is they are very strong. In fact, they play with two in the midfield. It's one of the few teams which plays with double blockers, which means they actually cut out the midfield. And if you cut out the midfield for a team like Wazalendo, it means they have to try go down the flanks. So it's automatically, if they just keep to their structure, na natumia sembe hasta kudanganya, they have to be very, because people like Barry, they're like Barry, Matthew ni kama mosquito ile iko nje ya net lakini inapiga kelele, you can do nothing about it. So I think
hapo umewatusi.
no kweli. What I'm trying to say is that someone like Barry,
Yeah.
and Matthew and someone like Joba, hata Ndegwa, those guys, they are small, but they won't stop coming at you. So it's about them being composed and not the reverse of what you were saying, not making stupid mistakes. Yeah, because again, you see, Wazalendo I saw like today, if they are very careful with their short corners, they're also quite lethal in their short corners. So again, play the game away from the 23, do all your Koreako for 23, so that you manage the set pieces and the set plays.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a nice game to watch, because I'm very sure all of them will be cautious, Simon? All of them will be cautious because they know this is a game which is going to change the standing of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, gentlemen, we have to give our predictions and then we wait for the game tomorrow. Let's start with Asharan. What do you think this game? What's the outcome of the game? And tell us what are the repercussions of the outcome?
Oh, that's going to be hard.
Ronata Kagochi is thinking hard.
I'll put it this way. There are two options of how it could go. If Wazalendo stay calm under the ball, and play to their strengths, I can easily see about maybe 4-1. Easy win for them. But if they do all the mistakes Kagochi has mentioned, especially dribbling too much, I've seen GRA play, and they actually come about 3 or 4 players in the D. That's why they only 1-0 down at halftime. If you go around them, they're big players, go around a big player, they won't be able to turn fast enough to recover. Try going through them, you're not going anywhere. So if they go around them, I'll stick with the 4-1 win.
Kagochi, you've had the prediction 4-1.
For me, this will be this is a game of short scores, or because I know they are going to be very cautious. So the way I'm seeing it, it might be a draw. It might be a draw.
No, you can't play sitting on the fence. You have to choose one team to win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Stop playing safe.
I'm playing safe, my friend. Anyway, as Ashraf has said, it will be tricky. The reason I'm saying that, because I know both teams how they play, and that's what I'm saying because of also the state of the games which have been played fast. I think it might be forced to a draw. But if, as you said, Ashraf, if Wazalendo use their ability to and their skillful players come to play, I'm seeing about a 1-0 win for Wazalendo. If I'm saying if they sort the issues that we mentioned about, because GRA can also punish you for from small errors. So it's a close call. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'd give a 3-2 prediction. Wazalendo to win 3-2. I think it will be that ping pong kind of match where you score, we score. You score, we score again, and then finally we get a heartbreaking winner. And I'm predicting that the Wazalendo are going to, for me, I think they're going to win it 3-2. They're going to edge it 3-2. This, I believe it's going to be a high scoring match for me. Based on how I've seen both teams playing, it might end up being a high scoring game and a close one for both teams. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you tomorrow after the match. You're going to do a match review after the match. Ashran Kagochi, thank you very much, gentlemen, for showing up. See you tomorrow, guys. Until next time, keep safe. Have a good evening. Cheers and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.